Opa! They did Tower on 2 wheels. He was trying to get a better line through that corner. That wouldn't work either.
Sound muted. Sound resumed.
Hello and welcome to this second round of the Can-Am 1971 Championship. Coming to you tonight from the Mont-Tremblant circuit in Canada. And in the booth I'm joined by Alberto Ibañez. Good evening, Alberto.
Good evening, Jonathan. Good evening, everybody. Here we are ready for another fine night of racing. It edges so.
And hopefully everyone will survive, because there have been talks of it being a bit of a demolition derby, but hopefully everyone will sort of be able to keep their cars off the barriers and on the track.
Well, it certainly will be an attrition race, because this is a quite hard track. It's known for these very powerful cars. And the worst thing that it has, I mean, it's of course part of its beauty, of the technical difficulty of driving it, but again, the biggest danger in it is the many blind corners that you have. Not just because of the special driving that is involved, when you have to aim for an apex that you can't see, but because anything that happens beyond the corner, you will be finding it very quick when you come out of it. So it's very easy that you get into an accident, not just because you miss the corner, but because someone did it before you.
Very much so, and I'd say the biggest place for that to happen would be turn, I suppose with American terms that would be turn 2 maybe. Coming right over the biggest, highest point of the circuit.
Yeah, this is a very difficult race on the track. The cars are very light. They are coming uphill, and all the weight of the car with all its inertia is going upwards. And when you go over that crest, the cars are almost flying. Many of them are almost 4 wheels in the air, most of them 2 wheels on the air, and very, very light, where the driver is just a wild-eyed passenger. Not a lot of control over the car at that point.
It's a bit like a driver once said about the chicane at Knock Hill. You just close your eyes, hold onto your wheel, and hope you come out the other side in one piece. But with the track map up, we can see that the length of the circuit is 4.265 k's or 2.65 miles. And as Alberto said, that's very short for these kind of cars. And we'll be running about 75 laps. Oh, sorry, we will be running 75 laps, and that is just under 320 kilometers, or just under 199 miles. And the length of the race will certainly test both the drivers' endurance and their ability to keep concentration up for the full distance.
Yeah, it certainly will. And this is a track where the slightest error, the slightest mistake or loss of concentration is paid very dearly for. Because like we said, you don't have many moments here where you can more or less relax, stretch a bit and calm your nerves. You're constantly on a corner, and most of the times without really seeing where you are going to, with those blind apexes. Sometimes it's the nature of the corner, the elevation changes, sometimes it's the barriers that don't let you see exactly what is beyond. But in any case, like I say, bar for the one longer and one very short straight that you will be seeing, the drivers don't have a lot of time to relax, and this is going to take a toll on their nerves sooner or later. That's obvious.
That's definitely so. And Before we join the action on the track, where qualifying is soon to be over, we'll have a quick look at the points and remind ourselves of the top 5 in round 1, where David Sabre in the Works McLaren took 20 points with an absolutely dominant win in terms of the pace he was able to pull out, and despite dropping a bit of that time towards the later bits of the race, it looked like it was all down to strategy and wanting to save the car. Austin Oganowski finished second in his shadow, picking up 15 points, and he was the only guy really who had the pace to challenge David, although of course Yves Placé had the pace very early on in his Ferrari. And third, with his first podium at HSO, was Jason Whited, picking up 12 points. And Adam Hackman had his first really good, I believe I may have a bit of a blank memory, road course finish with 4th, in picking up 10 points. And Raoul Yereb drove a very unremarkable race, didn't get involved in too much stuff, and yeah, finished 5th and picked up 8 points for the championship.
It's unfortunately ill for this race, so won't be able to attend. But we have some changes here, some driver changes, because David Jackson is doing again a guest drive here. This time not in the poorly handling BRM, but instead in the very powerful McLaren M8. Even he's already showing his class, because he's dominating qualifying. He's even now below 136, which is actually quite some time with this car.
As he just has a bit of a moment, but yeah, that's a huge margin for these cars, and especially around this short of a track as well. I mean, there aren't that much length for him to pick up that time. Let's see, I believe we should probably have a couple of other... Well, we have Jakob Fredriksson back with us. He wasn't able to make it for the last round. And that number 38 machine was driven by David Yates. But now in the hands of Jakob, flying Swede, more or less. At least in the USAC series last season. Will hopefully score some good points here tonight and get himself on the board in terms of the championship.
That's it. He certainly did magic last year with the Kart 88, because he didn't have the best car, but he sure had the pace and the constancy. So those are certainly his biggest weapons. And in this championship, it should also be very important given the point system.
Yeah, considering you get 5 points more than the second place and 8 points more than third place, if you win just a couple of races and others have a bit of the lacking races, he'll already be up in the lead of the championship. Let's see if we can find anyone who's about to start a new lap. We have here David Junt, so let's jump on board with him and have a look at this Mont-Tremblant circuit. As he comes up to Christian Dauger into the tight right-hand hairpin, second to last corner on the track. Coming around this left kink here, he will start his lap.
Not the best place to give the start, we were already talking about that here at broadcast booth, because most of the cars will be sideways, they're doing the previous chicane. Anyway, it's a bit downhill until they make it to this, gain another S. Light as you see, you barely see the top of the cars beyond the... Now they go for a slightly quicker section of the circuit. They're going downhill to the hairpin that is down on the bottom. some rather quick corners. This is misleading because it's actually quite fast. This is probably the quickest part of the track until they break here. This is the very bottom of the track. Now they will be going 180 degrees into this quite open turn, and again upwards on a very twisty zone, but quick this here. It leads again to the combination of turns that is before the main straight.
There is one of the more dangerous corners coming up as well, just up here.
Yeah, this one is
my
so
view.
easy to put the car under steering outwards. This is a small straight for the start-finish line, probably the last chance to get an overtaking done. And this is this difficult hairpin just before this combination that leads to main straight again.
And as we could see, there's a lot of movement in the car. Sort of small bumps in the road, and oh, as he hit the curbs very badly there.
It's so easy to get it in two wheels.
Yeah, and here we
the
have...
curbs are quite high.
Yeah, and of course that crest is even more difficult for the cars who have no rear wing. As Sky Willis, who we're watching at the moment, has driven before we went live. She's been having a couple of spins in that turn 2-3 area. With her, I believe that's a McLaren machine.
Yeah, one of the older ones. It got very quickly outdated in this series back then in the 70s because technical progress was so quick back then, especially in aerodynamics. You can simply watch the different shapes of the cars to realize how they were quickly sprouting wings everywhere and becoming that much rippier with the extra downforce from the wedge noses and the big wings on the rear.
As it was sort of a bit like in F1 during those late 60s, early 70s, wasn't it?
And let's see, because David Saber is in the final. The qualifying is over. David Saber is on a flying lap. No, he's out. He just spun in the sand and the gravel, so that was probably less chance for someone to take pole position away from the Jacks. I guess that one is already fixed. And we see if there's someone else in front. Yes. Dana Schubert just came by, 19th position, he has secured. Gabriel Ster is now also crossing the finish line, but he doesn't change his position.
It looks like he was the last one.
I guess.
So, David Yates, congratulations on scoring a pole position in round 2 here at the St-Jovite round at Mont-Tremblant. I'm probably butchering the name of the track with me not speaking French, but hopefully you all will be able to live with that.
So we'll be heading to the warm-up, and everybody will now be putting some laps with the proper fuel for the race, so they get used to the new braking points and all the difference of having a heavy car, which is likely at those elevation changes what will keep them on the ground on the first laps.
Well, hopefully at least. But it's difficult to know for sure. And of course, with that extra weight, if you sort of hit the curb the wrong way, I'd assume the extra weight is actually helping the car go the wrong direction.
Yeah, extra weight is never good. That's for sure. Every racer that you meet in real life will tell you that he will do as much as he can to lighten his car.
Even to the point of shaving his beard. I'd expect.
Whatever it takes.
It looks like everyone is... It looks like it's actually the... Sorry. There we go. So, yeah, let's quickly run through the order. I think during this warm-up session, so that we don't have to do it during the what will probably be a very quick warm-up lap. So on pole position for the race, as we mentioned just a little while ago, will be David Yates and the number 12 McLaren machine, I think that is. There as he makes slightly taps the rear end of the
racing machine.
Ibañez. And second on the grid will be David Saber, who did his utmost to score another pole. I believe he got pole position at Mosport at least, but he tried his best to get another one, but it's not to be. Third on the grid will be Austin Ogonowski in the shadow. Another good session for Austin here. It'll be interesting to see how his car reacts to all the crests and stuff, with it being a bit special to drive, let's put it that way. Fourth on the grid will be Jason White, so he is having a fantastic season so far, finishing third last time out, now starting from fourth position here. And rounding out the top 5 is the sweet sounding Ferrari of Yves Placet. Absolutely screaming here. Sixth on the grid will be Adam Hackman. He too is having a fantastic season so far. Had a I think he started quite a bit back at Mosport, but consistent driving there got him fourth position. Seventh on the grid will be Grant Riddle, who was having a fantastic race going at Mosport before unfortunate incidents saw him being forced to retire from that race. Eighth on the grid will be his father, Ray Riddle. He too having a good qualifying session, a bit of a struggling series so far, I believe. I don't think he finished at Mosport. Ninth would be Martin Lacina, who finished inside the top 10 last time out. And rounding out the top 10, I believe, will be the Swede Jakob Fredriksson in the number 38 BRM P167, which according to those I've talked to is a bit difficult to drive as well. In 11th will be David Junt. He too was having a fantastic race at Mosport until he came together with Juha Boss and got stranded going towards the Moss hairpin, and unfortunately Jason White had nowhere to go, not a fault of his own, but just one of those things that happened, and David ended up a bit further down the field. 12th will be the other works McLaren of Scott Urick, who had a good start to the race at Mosport, but was forced to retire later on. Or maybe one should say decided to retire later on due to the car being too difficult to drive after early contact. And now we are having a messed up grid, so we'll have to wait. Oh well, could be worse.
The drivers have been logging already some laps here with the fuel complete, and it's interesting because David Saber has now the lead. It seems that his McLaren is reacting much better to that fuel load. Let's see what happens now.
It'll be very interesting to watch indeed. And, of course, if Jakes takes the lead on the start, the race could be on for real, because he doesn't seem to be that much quicker than anyone else either, so that could turn out to be a big train fighting for the lead, if we're lucky, as spectators of course. And it's also interesting to see that some drivers are making sure to do a lot of laps, and others have only done 1 or 2 so far.
Yeah, I guess everybody calms his nerves as he wants. Some people prefer to drive on the track, others just to be focused and concentrated, sitting thinking what they will be doing on the drop when the green flag drops.
Indeed, but it feels like it would be a very good idea to at least get a feel for how the car will be with heavy fuel, considering the qualifying session is a full hour, where they are running on more or less empty tanks.
Lots of cars spinning there in the first turns.
Which probably won't be the first nor the last time that happens. Let's see, 2 minutes remaining until the race is more or less going for the formation lap and getting going in the race itself. And I wonder, do we dare make any predictions on who is most likely to win this race, or should we just keep that to ourselves and see what happens? As we can see there, Brian Yannick having a slight moment coming over the turn 2 crests. Oh, and we have a spinner here. Looks to be the number 34, that's Filippo Marassi. Oh, right on a racing line. Contact made that time around.
So. Austin Oganowski put the quickest lap on fuel. Let's see what happens now at the start.
Ooh, that's very interesting. It's very impressive as well in that car, but of course it is a quick car. It's just has very peculiar handling characteristics at times.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if we kick into the next session. We will have some delay. It's so many drivers, we have such nice big grids that it seems that the game takes a lot of time thinking to kick over to the next session.
I believe the last driver just crossed the line to end this driving part of this session, so hopefully it'll be good. But yeah, looks like it's loading over now. Oh, we seem to have...
Yeah, Filippo Enrique, that's the game.
That's unfortunate. But hopefully he'll be back very quickly. And we'll be able to get going within a couple of minutes' time.
Yeah, it should be quick. But the best thing to make people less nervous is having to repeat the start.
That is true. Hopefully no one will be too rattled by this. Yeah, I think it's Felipe now. Unless I'm mistaken.
Okay, yeah, he's back.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
And my apologies if that sound was very loud. I wasn't expecting it, so I didn't have time to mute the sound of that. So let's see, yes, everyone is joining the grid. Some cars, of course, sounding a bit louder than others as the green light flies for the formation lap. And let's see, we did have David Yates on pole, Saber second, Ogonowski third, Whited fourth, Placé fifth, Hackman sixth, Grant Riddle seventh, Ray Riddle 8th, Martin Lassina 9th and Fredriksson 10th. David Junt was 11th with Scott Urick 12th. 13th for Sky Willis and 14th for Juha Boss. 15th for Gerard Riot and 16th for Jukka Martanen. 17th for Steve Parker and 18th for Brian Yannick. 19th for Dana Schurer and 20th the admin of this series, Jason White. 21st for Gabriel Sturr, so he's taking a bit more space this time around, feeling more at home here than at Mossport. And 22nd for Mikael Drexler. 23rd for Petr Labatt and 24th for Jan Titz. Bruno Chacon 25th and 26th for Timo Vermeersch. 27th for Filippo Marazzi and 28th for Christian Dauge. Felipe Enrique qualified 29th and 30th and last on the grid will be Jason Fitch in the number 35 machine.
That's a field of 30. Big grid here, as we said.
Indeed, it's really pleasant to see so many drivers taking part in the series, and even more actually wanting to take part, but there weren't enough cars to accommodate everyone, unfortunately. And here we can see the whole field heading into the last hairpin. Keeping the camera here just a little bit so that you get to see most of the field come through as the leaders are coming through the final turn. And looks like the green flag is out, the race is underway. Oh, we have a spinner back there already. Oh dear me, don't end up on the track. He did just a little bit. Oh no, that's Yves Placé, isn't it? Oh, we have another one spinning off, number 40. Oh, and we have another one having to take evasive action. Jason Fitch had to take evasive action. Bruno Chacon hit the wall, and unfortunately it was Guy Willis who span coming onto the start-finish straight.
I think Scott Urick was involved. David Young just got by. Yes, Scott Urick has now returned to the racetrack.
Oh dear me, that's unfortunate. Meantime, we're
with the start. Now they seem to be stretching again the pack.
Yeah, and we still have David Yates in the lead, keep holding on to the lead on the start, and he is enjoying a little bit of a gap to David Saber, with Ogonowski in a close third, and then we have Jason White in fourth, Yves Placé in fifth, Grant Riddle sixth, Hackman seventh, Ray Riddle eighth. So and we have a possible position from Grant here on Yves Placé going through the right hander there. Let's have a look at that.
Time he wants to keep contact with the head of the race, because he knows if you get shaken off, it's sometimes very hard to be back in contact with them again. And they come in here to round the first lap. The Jack's already put in some distance.
Yeah, he definitely looks to be on pace. When Saber made a slight mistake in the last turn, lost a bit of pace, but Ogonowski didn't have enough of a run to go for it. As everyone is coming through turn 2, down the hill they go, one after the other. Main is watching here to see if we have any issues. Looks like someone may be off up top. There is, there's parts and everything flying by the looks of things. Okay, that was only the cones, apparently. Well, only and only, but Owen Felipe Enrique had a bit of a moment, but was able to keep going.
Yeah, there are several cars and drivers there that are well paired at the back of the grid, and they are having some heavy scrapes here at the beginning of the race. I think when the race stabilizes a bit, they will be doing much better. But now it's quite confusing because there's many cars in the same place. You see Brian Jani going slowly there, I think recovering from a spin. And the head of the race is in change. The Jax is opening the gap. It's a bit as he was used to in Formula 1. He started the race and went very quick.
Jacob Frickson going for the move back here, sorry to cut you off.
Yes.
The track goes back to the left. Oh, but it looks like he's got the move done. He does it around outside of Gabriel Sturr.
Yeah, very nice there. I guess we'll be seeing him making some overtaking maneuvers because his position in the grid was much higher. He has lost some positions here in the incidents at the beginning of the race. But since he's quicker than the cars in front, we should be seeing him recovering those positions pretty soon.
Definitely, and as you were saying, David Yates enjoying a massive lead. It definitely calls back to the F1 91 championship last year. The way he's pulled out the lead for the time being. But of course, the slightest mistake, as we see one right here, running very wide, could cost a very large amount of time. Let's see if we can find any fights going on for the time being. We have a possible one raging here between Bos, Junt and possibly Martin.
Oh, Jacko has left the game. Crashed. What happened here?
Oh no.
Suspension damage. It seems
Ooh.
that he hit something.
He got sideways going onto the extended track and hit the concrete wall very hard indeed.
So it's Ogonoski now putting some pressure on David Sauber. I think that he's realizing that David Jax is opening the lead, and he probably feels he has a better chance of scoring well if he manages to follow him instead of being held by David. David also seems to be taking a much more prudent approach. He was more aggressive on the previous race, when it's obviously the first race of the season. You didn't have that much to lose, and you're always willing to test yourself in the car, but right now he seems to be driving with a very cold head.
And it doesn't look like Yates is pulling out too much more of a gap. Of course, that McLaren is very quick in a straight line, so
got Urick that score. But yeah, he killed his engine. Wow, it's unfortunate.
oh dear. Oh, and it was up at turn. Oh, it looks like he had a bit of a coming together with someone. Well, that's Peter Labatt he's had a coming together with up at turn 2. To begin it, and at turn 2 first. And, oh, and then in the trying to recover, he span in turn 4 as well, hit the barriers very hard, and that would have been what killed his car. That's very unfortunate. He was looking like he had quite a good bit of pace. It looks like Jason Fitch has been maybe not in the pits, just having a bit of struggle with the car for the time being.
And there's a battle I'm battling at the back of it between Bruno Chacon and Filippo Marazzi. Both are not the quickest drivers here, but both are very steady drivers. They have a very interesting finishing record. Filippo Marazzi drove last year many of the 6-hour races in the World Sports Car ATP Championship alone by himself. 6 hours behind the wheel. And that's some endurance.
When he goes up the inside there...
There he goes. There you have it.
That's a very aggressive
like
move.
I said, maybe not the quickest drivers, but they sure know how to race clean each other. And they're very steady.
Definitely so, and they of course will probably not make any major mistakes, having been able to drive for 6 hours without anyone else helping them out in the driver's seat. And we have someone else off that looks like... oh, it's Dana Schurer off the road. Is that a puncture, possibly? Maybe. Let's see. Oh, she goes up the inside of Michael Drexler, just slightly nudges him and nudges the barriers with the right rear. So that could very well be a puncture on her right rear tire.
Well, that would cost her dearly because pit stop at this point in this short track. Oh, Martin Lassina barely ran out, managed to keep the car on track. While Ray Breeder is putting some pressure on Adam Hackman at the 7th position. Up from there, the head of the race is very much spread. There's about 2 seconds between each run. David Sauber has been able, finally seems to shake off Austin Ivanovsky. He's keeping his steady rhythm there. And Jason White in turn is trying to put some pressure on Ogonowski, but not yet in striking distance. But Grant Riddle is watching there from behind. Anything that happens, he'll be ready there to get that position.
That is very much so. That's usually his sort of his tactic from what I've seen, unless he has a whole lot of pace over everyone else. That's usually what he does. Ogonowski having a big slide in the last bit of the lap.
It must be hell to drive that car here with those small front wheels. It must be very nervous.
It would be surprising if it wasn't. When he's sideways again, but it looks like he had a very good hairpin still. He got on the power very early. As a small
Maybe
bit of a...
he's trying to get a bit of a feeling for a later move from someone. Remember how he did that well, the overtaking, getting the run out of the last corner last time in Moscow.
Oh, indeed. Oh, and a lot of lockups from both cars ahead.
However, between David Jones and Juha Boss, both paired in, I think that is the same car essentially. And David is putting some pressure on Juha.
When Juha, oh, both of them sideways in turn 2. When here comes
nice
down.
good dirt. Some very fine drivers there. It's Yuka Matane right behind them, and then a very young Gerard Rion, who is, well, this time he looks much better in this race. He's doing things very well, taking it with a much cooler approach. Because remember, it was for him very unfortunate that his opponent got collected last race in Moscow. And this time he's holding on there, much better.
Definitely looks like this is more or less a four-way battle here.
Oh, Bravigan is on the brakes, trying to pass Alan Hackman. Not this time.
Right behind them, of course, is Martin Lassina.
One of the best late breakers that we have in the league. A guy that is probably the hardest to, as you can see. Oh, David Sauber is falling. What happened? Austin Ogonowski also. They seem to have together. Oh, something happened there.
Oh, and always a spin for Saber. Oh, another spin, yeah. Let's see if we can find out what happened to begin with.
Oh, they both. It's interesting. They both hit they touched the curb with the outside wheel, and they both spun.
Oh, and both of them hit the inside barrier as well.
So no racing incident, is just plain driver error. I think Ogonowski had no contact with anything, but we hit the wall. So let's see if there is some damage in his suspension. Oh, we're joined by Scott Urick.
Oh, good evening, Scott.
Good evening.
As Alberto said, what happened, Matt?
Oh. I ran wide at the final hairpin, and I want to make sure who it was.
Oh, yes, right to the south of the pack. The gravel. Fortunately, since there's no damage in his car, but there are.
No, he has some. He has a puncture.
No.
Either a puncture or a suspension damage. Left front looks down on his car. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, that must be a puncture, the way that car is reacting on the brakes. Sorry, Scott, go ahead. You went off in the last hairpin, you said?
Didn't go off, I went wide.
Oh, sorry.
Peter beneath me, and as we went into turn 1, I had my line set up. Of course, he's in an older car. He slowed down more than I was expecting. The two of us spun, got back on the track, got down to 2, and timing was off. The car backed into the wall and killed the engine.
Well, that's very unfortunate. Because you looked like you had quite a bit of pace around here this evening.
I was really comfortable with it, and I was running where I wanted to run, and unfortunately, and I apologize to Peter, I got too close to him going through turn 1, and we collected each other, and then I messed up recovering and getting back on the track, so.
Well, it's one of those things that can happen, and of course this is sort of a car breaker track, or at least a driver breaker track, in terms of the difficulty of it.
I don't know if I didn't see how Peter hit the wall. He's still in the pits getting repairs. I'm sure he'll be
also in the pits now.
Yes, I'm sure he'll be highly honked off at me, but I hope it wasn't our collision that caused his suspension damage, because he was, before I came in here, I saw he was crabbing badly.
I'm honestly not sure how he hit the wall either, so looks like someone else is heading into the pits.
I can confirm right now that David suffered whatever damage hit in the car, because there's visually some bending in the nose of the car. Hasn't seen his driving pace affected very much, because he's lapping in the same time that he was doing before the incident. So that's good, because he's obviously a contender and hasn't suffered any damage.
Indeed, it
looks
looks
like turning laps lower, but I don't know what. I don't think I saw him hit anything. I'm not sure what the reason might be.
I believe Austin notched the inside barriers just a little bit, but not as hard as David Saber did. But it looks.
For instance, I can tell that his steering wheel is straight, so not that he's fighting a bad suspension, at least apparently.
Looks like Yves Placé has lost a little bit of pace as well, or has made a mistake, because he's now right within the battle of Boos, Junt and Martanen.
User disconnected from your channel.
Thank you, Scott, for joining us. Sorry that I didn't have time to say that before you left, but
and very much like a previous race, we see here a field that has been spreading a lot from the very beginning, except in the case of Sky Willis and Brian Janik, who are fighting each other in I think what is essentially the same car.
yeah, it looks
Sky
like
Willis
it's
trying to get a run on Brian. Didn't get it this time, but they're really putting a lot of pressure on him. It's fun to see, because it's obviously very well paired cars. They are basically the same thing.
Indeed, and it's difficult and always... Willis tries around outside, not quite... Well, she may have the run. Oh...
Ooh, they're
really nice
going
driving.
side by side around the corner.
Very nicely done. And here comes St-Jovite out of the pit, stays out of the way of the battling pair going by.
Guy thinking worse, she can put the wheel in front of Brian Janik's car. He seems to be keeping very steady lines and making it easy, not having any gap. Even if she has a run on some of the apexes, Brian is blocking very nicely there. Yeah, he's going for the inside, ensuring that Guy doesn't dive on him. Low in the apex, but he will be accelerating well now. There he goes. Not an easy track to overtake, certainly.
Oh, she has to run here though.
Let's see if she can late brake. Oh, that was well executed. Well done.
Very nicely done, and of course Brian gave her a little bit of extra room to allow her to keep the apex there. Very well done from both of them. And it would seem like Jason Fitch has retired, as has Dana Shura just now.
Yes, he has quit. Didn't finish, not sure what happened.
Looks like it could be a disconnection, maybe. Nothing shows up on the broadcast, at least, in the replay that I have, so... Possibly a disconnection, unfortunately. When back up here, was St-Jovite trying to get out of the way, holds up Austin a little bit. I was going to say that Austin has closed in on Grant just a little bit in the last couple of laps here.
In St-Jovite or Whitehead?
My apologies, I was on the replay.
St-Jovite is now, he just overtook Brian Janik and he's trying to recover some positions.
Well, he is 2 laps down on the leaders, but with his pace I'm sure he'll be able to get inside the top 20 maybe at least. It's of course difficult to say for sure. And here is another battle between Åcerclinth and Ray Riddle.
Two veteran drivers. They are very hard competitors on the track. With their experience and finesse in driving.
Indeed, and I believe that they both will know each other quite well in terms of how they drive, so this will be a very hard fought battle in terms of making a position or not. Whereas Ray makes a slight mistake, runs a little bit wide, maybe opening up for an opportunity for Eves up here, going into the final hairpin.
And Yuka's also putting a lot of pressure on Juhabos there. Some places back.
Well, indeed, so Martinen has gotten by David Junt here.
Yeah, they're the 3 of them basically running on the same car, and they're very evenly matched.
Oh, and I believe we may have someone off in the last complex, was it? I believe that may have been Adam Hackman running a little bit wide. He did, by the looks of things, but that may just be lag. And Juhabos is now enjoying a bit of a gap because
Yeah, Jonatan was able to pass through Jonatan, and in the fight, you have managed to lose them both. But I don't think that will last very long because David seems to be on the move now.
It looks like he's able to drive his car right on the limit. Four-wheel drifting it out of that previous right handle.
This is also part of the differences that arise because of what the drivers do with the setup. These cars are essentially the same, they don't have a huge setup range, but there is enough room so that they are constantly changing when the fuel lift changes. Therefore it might very well happen that at the beginning of the race, because of the setup, Juha and Jukka were quicker than David Jonatan, but now as the fuel is being depleted, David Jonathan's car is getting quicker, as it's easy now to pass them. So even if you are looking at the same cars, they certainly are responding very differently to what the drivers are doing with them. That depends on the setup.
Oh, and just now Yves Placé got by Ray Riddle. Ray Riddle ran wide in the hairpin. And that's very true.
That
what
will be a very hard position to recover for right, unless there is some error from Yves.
Indeed.
We'll see now if it was Yves holding right, or right not being able to go quicker because of the pressure that Yves is putting on him. In any case, the other battle that we were watching, that's between Juha Boss, David Jonatan and Jukka Matanen, is very, very close behind these two. So they could be seeing themselves in trouble very quickly if they can put some extra effort there.
Of course, just a little bit behind these three, Yadrio is staying back just a little bit, watching the battles ahead, and possibly hoping for mistakes from them so that he can benefit.
And Ogonowski has slowly recovered a bit his freedom and is catching up with Grant Riddle, who had moved up to the second position thanks to the spin that Ogonowski and David Saber had some laps ago. Grant also has been starting to go quicker last lap when he felt the pressure by Austin. But Austin's lap time seemed to indicate now he's bagging steady 39s and he's quickly catching up with Grant Riddle. Ooh, he's moving sideways the car. He's powering out of the corner very well.
Yeah, Austin is another driver who is able to drive his car very much on the limit. And of course, with the way his car is set up with smaller front wheels, he may have to drive it on the rear end a bit more than the others, so as to try and save a bit of the front tires.
Yeah, the Shadow is basically a car that pivots completely over the rear wheels. The front ones are so tiny that with the big acceleration and the torque that these cars have, I think it could almost lift them easily from the ground. The rationale behind the Shadow was to actually have a lower front section so that it's more aerodynamic. But it makes it a tricky car to drive. And also because the tires are smaller, they make more turns per each yard that the car advances, so that they get hotter.
Ooh, Grant cutting it very fine.
Yeah, he has incredible car control. We already saw it you remember last year in the last race at Miami with the car 88, it was incredible how he was going sideways with those downforce IndyCars.
Indeed. And here comes Austin again, getting very close in the last turn before the long straight, and then just like we saw, oh, actually he has a run here. I would have expected
Grant's
Grant to
protecting
pull. Oh yeah, of course Grant is in the Porsche, isn't he?
very wisely using the lap cars, who move very well to let the battle go on.
I believe this is the battle we saw earlier between Sky and Brian Yannick, possibly, that they are lapping right here.
Yeah, coming now to Michael Drexler. Well, it seems Stoganowski can put pressure on Grant Riddle and catch him, but passing is a very different proposition.
Indeed, and I believe both cars are more towards the handling side of it compared to, for example, the McLaren, who has a bit more power in the straight line.
And Yves Placet, I should say, is now in 6th position, ahead of Juha Bosch. They returned in the rear. Was that also the case before?
I believe he passed.
Yeah, that's right. He passed Juha.
No, I believe he passed. Oh, never mind. But yeah, I believe he.
Yes, but Rai Riddle has dropped a lot. That's the reason.
Oh yeah.
Rai Riddle has been overhauled by the group that was following him. That is a David Jonatan to have also. Oh, Michael Drexler seems to have an accident or something, because he just quit again. Yes, suspension damage. He has hit something.
Oh, he just after he got lapped, looks like he overdid it a little bit, and one of the right-handers, and hit the barriers very hard indeed, and was sent back to the racing surface. Jason White did a good job of avoiding his car, and I believe that may be more than just suspension damage to Michael's car.
So in the meantime, in the middle of the field, Adam Hackman has been able to overtake Van Matanen. Gerard Rion also the same. That indicates that Pika probably had some outing, some error, because it's not normal that he has lost so many positions. In front of them is David Junt, who is trying to catch up with Juha Bosch, and then it's Yves Placet, who, as we said, overtook Rai Riddle and went to open a gap. In front of Yves is Martin Lassina. We have already said it many times, a very quick cover, and you just have to see the very poor car he's in, and despite that he is in 5th position, which is absolutely incredible considering what he's surrounded by. Then next and 4th is David Saber, who is driving now steadily his factory McLaren, and up there next is the big fight that we are watching between Grant Riddle and Austin Ivanovsky. Still unable Austin to pass Grant, and we'll see how this develops. But Austin is certainly sparing no pressure on Grant.
Looks like Austin is a little bit quicker, especially in that hairpin, but Grant gets a very good run off the corner. But here comes the Shadow, looking for the ins. Oh, just about not enough room on the inside there. Tries around outside, is not able to get it done there. Maybe a slight bit of a cutback here to go for the move up the hill. Oh, he has to run, almost notches the rear end of Grant's Porsche, as they both
very wisely hides himself in traffic. That was a very nice move.
Indeed, that's Filippo Marazzi.
Giving him some room.
And then
He
Brian
negotiated
Yannick.
the traffic very well. It's a very difficult section to get rid of. Even Grant is having some problems there, but all the drivers are letting people pass nicely. Now let's see Timo Vermeersch, who has now a very difficult situation with Austin Ivanovsky behind in this very complicated section.
Oh, that's... Oh... Okay,
Yeah,
it worked out.
to
Nicely
to the
done.
outside, yes. Okay, never mind, so Ivanovsky is through. It's, I must say, Timo did it right. I mean, it's obviously Ivanovsky not willing to
wait another bit of a corner,
wait,
yeah.
yes, because he's losing his difference with Grant Riddle. No fault on Ivanovsky, no fault on Timo. I mean, in other circumstances that should have been a bit more patient, but it's understandable that he's willing to keep to stick with. I believe that the car that Ogonowski is driving has a bit more power than the Porsche that Frida is driving, but it has less handling because of the limitations of the shadow.
At least in terms of going off.
The straights is where Ogonowski is getting quicker,
And
close to Grant.
And he seems to be a little bit quicker in the hairpins going into the hairpins, but then Grant has very good runs off the corners and pulls a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah, that's the Porsche chassis that is quite decent, and because of not having that much power, it seems a bit contradictory, but when you don't have that much power, you can actually power better out of the corners. Yeah, you don't have that much thrust, but the guy that has a more powerful engine risks staying there spinning the wheels instead of getting forward motion.
Felipe gets out of the way, very nearly loses his car in the process, but was able to hold on to it. Nicely done there. And indeed, that is... well, I can't really say indeed because I don't know the cars well enough. But the Porsches have always, sort of always had very good chassis, no matter what series and cars.
St-Jovite now. Right, Vidal getting to him. It seems he has had a spin. Ah yeah, he went sideways and he seems to have spun by touching with the outside wheel. Oh no, he's over the curbs. Oh, on two wheels.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh.
That's unfortunate. Probably. Let's see. He has too much damage. Or not.
Well, he did a good job keeping the car off the racing surface at least. As you say, hopefully no major damage. Oh, looks like he has some damage and he's in the barriers again. This could very well be another retirement, and it is. That's very unfortunate. Jukka was having a good race up until that point.
Meanwhile, David Jant is putting pressure again on Juha Boss, but seems also unable to pass. Same thing that is happening to Austin Ogonowski with Grant Riddle.
Indeed, and here comes
driving there very, very steadily, not giving David the chance to overtake. And Gerardia is also getting closer. I would say that Juha is driving a bit slower now. That's what made David able to catch up. And the reason I'm thinking this is because Gerardia is also there with both, while he was at a distance before. They are grouping together with Alan Hackman behind Juha, and that seems to indicate something that has slowed down Juha. Let me check his lap times. And yes, indeed, he did. He had been doing 141, 140, and last lap he was doing just 142 for whatever reason, driving error or whatever. But he has now grouped all those following cars behind him, and that's certainly not the most comfortable position to be.
Indeed not, and we can see that he mounted the curbs with half the car going through the right-hander a couple of corners ago, and it could be that the pressure is getting to him as well, and that's why he's a bit erratic at the moment. And that could be the reason why he's going a bit slower. He's on the curbs again, sideways. Oh, he's off the track. That should be at least one position lost, possibly three. Yeah, Adrian trying to get by. Oh. Pushing his other wide. Oh, and oh no, that's probably the end of Juha Boss's race. If it's
yeah, but he should have given up the position there.
And he has a puncture on the right front.
Yves Placet meanwhile has caught Martin Lacina and is now putting pressure on him for 5th place. I think that given the difference in the car in favor of Yves, it shouldn't last very long. Despite Martin Lafilia's brilliant driving, I don't think that he will be able to fend off Yves Placet for very long.
It's definitely possible that Yves will go by, but Martin surely won't make it easy for him. And in
He
Juha's,
also is already again back at Grant Riddle's tail, and putting some pressure on him. We're seeing there's some fun driving by these two brilliant drivers.
certainly, we have a half spin for the car in front. Hopefully they manage to avoid the barriers. In the fight for fourth.
I told you Martin Lassina is the late breaker of the league. It will certainly be on the brakes that Yves gets him, even if Martin is on an inferior car. That guy throws the anchor the latest of everybody.
Certainly. But it looks like the Ferrari is quick in a straight line compared to the machine of Martin Lassina. As the left cars moves out of the way, very sportingly there. Let's both of them go by. Now it's time for Felipe Enrique.
But then you get into that situation where the Ferrari might be quicker actually, in part because it gets a better run out of the corner, because racing is all about the laps of time. So what makes you really quick at the end of the straight is to come out of the corner really quick. You don't gain that much speed unless you are already coming out. Oh, that's an error by Yves. Unless you come out of the corner very quick. And sometimes what happens is that even if you are in a quicker car, when you're hampered by a car that is slower in front of you, this is what happens. I mean, you can make the most of your car. You don't get the exit speed from the turns that you need to get your engine revving up, hiking up, and make the most of the power band. And this is what happened probably to Yves with Martin Lassina. Martin is not quicker than him in this old McLaren, but he's hampering Yves enough so that Yves can use that extra difference that is in the Ferrari. As you see, he's catching up with Martin again quite quickly, but once he's stuck behind him, Martin slows him too much at the apex, because obviously Martin's McLaren is not that quick there, and that kills Yves' car coming out of the corner. He doesn't have enough of a run at the end of the next straight to be able to pass Martin. The less so on the brakes, where, like I've said many times, Martin is a maestro.
Well, that's part of where people talk about the phrase parked bus in the corners.
Loganowski putting a lot of pressure on Grant Riddle, and this is really a fight to see in this race, because these are brilliant drivers. They're absolutely driving at the limit, and I think I can speak for both when I say they are surely enjoying it a lot.
Well, I think Austin may be enjoying it a bit more than Grant at the moment, though, because he's the chasing car and not the one being chased.
And look at the rubber marks that they are leaving there. They are certainly not sparing any effort. They are absolutely flat out hammering the car.
I don't remember, does these cars have boost settings?
No, they don't. They have atmospheric engines. It was later the turbocharged Porsche 917, the Penske team field, what introduced the turbocharging here in a serious attempt, and what absolutely killed Can-Am some years later because of the domination that they had. But the cars that we are seeing here, the 71s, those cars, I don't think there was any car in the with a turbocharger, as far as I know. Maybe there was one, but some of those backmarker attempts do something. Certainly not any of the quicker cars that are fighting for the lead.
Okay, I was mainly wondering because that time, despite being on the grass on the acceleration bit, Grant pulled away in a straight line.
So meanwhile, Yves has passed Martin, finally. He's on the 5th position, and but now he has 22 seconds until David Saber, who I don't think is going to be much in danger of losing his position because he's doing very quick lap times, 39.4. Similar to David Jeffs, who is, well, driving absolutely a race of his own.
When here comes...
So there goes Roganowski. Trying to make it on the brakes on the outside. That didn't work either. I don't think that was a real attempt to pass, but more to force Grant to the opposite side of the track and get a run on him on the next corner. But Grant didn't fall into that. What a fantastic battle that we're seeing here. It's so great when you see these fine drivers that are so well in control of the cars fighting cleanly, with no problems, contact or stupid maneuvers. It's really a great spectacle. This is what motorsport racing is all about.
Indeed, cars more different than anything you could imagine in some cases in this series. And the drivers going at it hammer and tongs and battling between one another at the same time. And my apologies to everyone else driving on the track, but this battle is too good to miss for the time being.
And it's lasting so long that you must think about the nerves and the concentration of these drivers, because this is really tolling when you have to be that concentrated, even if you're enjoying it.
Indeed, I think even more so for Grant and for Austin, because Grant has to think about where he can lose the position, where he needs to be defensive, what he needs to do to...
What Ogonost is trying here, I think,
he'll have a better run this time.
Corner. Yes, exactly this. So that he can put the car in parallel. That wasn't enough, but look at how Grant gave him enough room.
And again he does.
Away and they don't touch. It's magnificent maneuvering here.
Fantastic driving. Great battle this.
I mean, people should know that doing this is incredibly difficult, having such control over the cars.
Especially considering the car still has a lot of fuel in them as well.
Yeah, they should have, because we're actually not even half the race distance. We're 28 laps into the race from 76.
Ooh, he wanted to go for it then. And Grant drifting it through that left-hander. Absolutely on the limit and maybe a little bit beyond as well. But as you were saying...
Probably his way of telling Austin that he's not scared at all. The display of aggressiveness.
Very possible indeed.
This is in the end also a psychological war. A psychological fight. The weaker, the mentally weaker, in this fight is the one who is going to obviously have to bow out. So sometimes you can see a driver there showboating a bit, just to let the other guy know that he's not troubled at all by that. Look at that.
Indeed.
Telling him, yeah, you think you got me, but I'm still in control, and look what I'm able to do.
And in the meantime, I just noticed, with all the antics going on, well, the battles going on more correctly, Gabriel Sturr is running in 12th position in his number 41. I believe that's a McLaren machine.
Yeah, one of the older. Sick, that one.
Yeah, that's a very nice drive from him, being his second race here at HSO. That's a fine effort
User joined your channel.
for him. As we are joined in the broadcast booth by Scott Urick once again. Welcome back, Scott.
He managed to get
I apologize for that, guys. I had to go out and find a brick wall to beat my head against.
That's perfectly fine. In the meantime, we had
been able to make it through. Look at that. But Grant wants that position back.
I believe Grant made a mistake in turn 2.
That won't be easy to recover that position.
but we can rest assured that he will do his best. Oh, as Austin runs wide. Oh, we have Felipe Enrique. Looks like he's blown his engine. That's unfortunate.
Black smoke down the short straightaway.
There, Grant touched the curb. That almost ended bad for him.
He did a good job holding on to the car.
Grant is probably also the best overtaker in our league. So I don't think that Austin will have exactly a comfortable rest of the race.
It's one of those situations. It's one of those situations. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You want to pass in terms of Austin, but now that he's gotten past, it probably won't be any easier for him.
Let's see what happens now with the traffic.
Oh, Grant almost nudges him in the braking zone. Hopefully, yep, the lap car gets out of the way. Austin has a bit of a moment, a bit of contact there.
Yeah, but that was for a slide. Now this is very dangerous.
Around outside.
Going side by side here is. Oh, look at that!
Oh, look at that! What a pass!
That Grant was going to be able to use the traffic in his favor. That was a master maneuver. He knew that Bruno Chacon was going for the inside, and he left there Austin in the slow lane.
What the move!
That was a brilliant pass. I mean, that's also something that you could see in oval racing, using the traffic to your advantage.
Indeed.
Absolutely. But yeah, use the traffic, but in that particular spot, masterful.
Masterful indeed.
That's probably one of the bravest moves we'll see all day. Now Austin's back where he started just 2 laps ago, and we'll see if he can once again make it work.
Austin probably saw the move come already from 3 yards ahead before, but he knew he was unable to do anything about it. So it's one of those things that the things go so quickly here.
To the outside, he puts Grant on the curb, and Grant hangs on.
They're really having a ball here, both of them.
Absolutely amazing to watch. Owen Austin has to run. Is he brave enough to? He tries to nudge his way up the inside, a little bit of side-by-side contact. If he pulls it off, will be a good move by Pitt, but Grant gets to run off the hairpin on the outside line and pulls ahead again.
They give each other enough room. They're doing it brilliantly.
Definitely so. Only having small scrapes with one another after all these laps is fantastic. Oh, Austin goes up the inside. Bit more contact that time round, but it looks like he's got the move done. That's where he had the opportunity before, and that was another fantastic move.
The elbows and shoulder, but he got.
That is a Jackie Oliver move right there.
You're probably right, but yeah, that's an aggressive move, but very, very well calculated. No major contact made, just a little bit of a nudge. It'll be interesting to see if Grant this time can do what he did before and get by once again.
Well, Austin's away clean, and this is the strength of his car. Unbelievably, the biggest unbelievable part of this race is that Austin is running at least a 7-liter engine. Grant only has a 5-liter engine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were noting that the engine there in the shadow is much quicker than the Porsche. The shadow was also set up for that purpose with a very low front end, and the Porsche just has a better chassis than the shadow. But certainly in the hands of Austin Ogonowski, that shadow is capable of incredible things.
Oh, and he'll be held up a little bit in traffic here. Austin is, and Grant is right up his gearbox once again.
Grant was waiting for, but
oh, is he going to do it again?
Side by side there.
Oh, dearie me. Yep, that's enough.
Oh,
let's see if he does it, Danny Sullivan.
Nicely done. Nicely got him back on track there, but unfortunate for him. That was a
too optimistic.
Yeah, he saw the opportunity, went for it. Unfortunately, there weren't traffic around to help him that time around, and he overdid it just a little bit. yeah, with that we probably have a bit of a calm time coming here. So with David Yates still in the lead, leading from the flag so far, we'll go to the trivia question quickly so that...
Jason White testing in the grass. Yeah, but he's back in the game.
This isn't something about floorball again, is it?
No, it's actually about St-Jovite. And the Can-Am series. So let's see, that should be the one. So the question is, who won the first St-Jovite Can-Am race on September 11th, 1966? Was it A. Mark Donoghue, B. John Surtees, or C. Bruce McLaren?
Which race you said?
The first St-Jovite Can-Am race in 1966. And I must say I got that wrong when I tried the trivia question when Jason White sent it to me, but maybe all of you watching will have a better go at it than me.
Let's see the lap times. To check if Austin is being able to put some distance with Brandt, or if we're heading for another confrontation. So the last two laps from Austin Agonowski have been 139.8, 139.9. In the case of Brandt, those have been 140, 142, probably because of being held by traffic. But that's the 3 seconds gap that you're seeing there on the track, which is quite some at this point. But we'll see. They're about to come over the start-finish line very soon, and we'll see what the real difference is.
I noticed in the meantime, Grant makes a bit of a mistake in the hairpin. That Peter Labatt has retired in the last couple of laps.
So it seems that he was having something up his sleeve and has put another second on front Brittle.
At least half of that second.
The mental fight that we were talking about, because if you pass a guy and then start putting a second per lap on him, that's quite demoralizing.
Indeed, and Grant lost a bit more time than should have lost. Oh, is he spinning again?
Yeah, he was trying too hard.
Oh, but he did a good job. He lit the rear up to try and keep it off the barriers.
He has now, so to speak, a rather scared spot, so if he isn't really able to push it and stay with Austin Agonowski, probably his best bet is have a steady race for his third place and hope that something else happens to Austin, some driving error or whatever.
Yes,
he was certainly trying to push it to catch Austin again.
I think he needs to cool his tires down a little bit.
And his head probably also.
That's true.
Very much so. That off, by the way, reminds me of a United Sports Car Championship off at Road America, I believe in 2014, maybe 2015. Several offs in a very wet final race of that year in the Petit Le Mans. Several offs happened during the weekend, and in the race the championship leaders had 2 offs there, and also one of the Porsches, the Falcon Tire Porsche, had an off in the last turn at Road Atlanta, sorry, is the name of the track. And because of the angle they went off, they skidded along the barriers but didn't hit it.
Wow.
Which is quite lucky, considering how that barrier there is with the old pit lane on the other side.
Well, Grant's certainly not resting his tires.
It certainly looks like he's been sideways a little bit in the last few laps here.
I don't think Grant knows what that means.
Calming down, certainly not.
No.
Not by the way he's driving, anyway. Maybe we should ask his father if he's as fiery at in his everyday life as he is in a car.
His father, who by the way is now still in a top 10 position.
Which is a very nice drive.
Yes.
It certainly is.
Hey, excuse me, Ray, how many times did you have to beat that boy?
Hopefully no times whatsoever.
Well, hopefully no times, but...
And of course in at least in the European Union, I believe, it's illegal to beat children.
Well, it's pretty much illegal
certainly
here
isn't here in
too,
Spain.
but I'm old school. I took my turns under the paddle.
Anyway, we're past half the race, I think, almost. No, not yet,
Yeah.
but almost.
Yes, we
So
are. We're
you have
past
an
it.
idea how long this race is going to be, because with all the action that we have had so far, we're just about to be half-raced. And in the meantime, Austin Ogonowski is 12 seconds away from David Jacks and is lapping a tiny bit quicker. All these last laps, David Jacks has been lapping in 140s, while Austin Ogonowski has been going down into 39s with more regularity. Now he's also in 40s, but lower 40s than David Jacks is doing. Oh, Ogonowski has spun! Look at that!
Oh
Let's
dearie
see if
me!
Grant is able to catch up, and we'll have the fight again.
I don't think that's what Austin wanted, but Grant will surely be happy to retake his second position now.
But
It's
we've
so
seen
Well,
already-
sorry, he was so far back that he
the
didn't
race
retake
from-
the positions. My apologies. I saw a
Well,
red
what
car
we've
and I
seen
thought that was
already in
Grant.
these two races is that Ogonowski always starts the races with a cool head. He always plays a waiting game, and then he starts hammering it down, especially from half the race onwards.
Ooh, and a car spinning in front of him there.
That was Timo.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit unfortunate that we caught that on the stream. Sorry, Timo.
And Grant Riddle certainly hasn't failed to notice that he was closer to Austin Ogonowski. He's now driving harder than ever.
Four-wheel drifting it through that left-hander once again. To reiterate the fact that he's really pushing. And of course, with his lesser engine, he has to
quickest
push.
way around the corner with these cars is to be able to point them to the outside and hammer the throttle down as soon as possible. So if that needs to be done drifting, then for sure Grant is going to do that.
Austin gets around Bruno. Now he's got a problem. Juha and Jason Whited have a heated battle going in front.
That's
that's
White
for a lap.
trying to regain his laps, I believe.
Yes, because there's one lap down there.
Or staying a lap ahead. Might be more the case since he's now past Rabos.
Plus having now a bit of a problem lapping Steve Parker, and he got through.
And Steve actually being a bit more quiet than I'd expect him to be in these cars. He's usually very good in heavy bit on slightly unruly cars, but
Well, that's not one of the most competitive rides here. Lola, which he's driving.
okay.
I mean, the cars to have in these areas are the McLaren M8 or the Darvion's Lola T260. Those are basically the quickest things that are out on the grid. And it's David Saber now is with all these errors and incidents that Grant Riddle has had. David Saber has now Grant Riddle on
Parker
side.
just spins out.
Hopefully no major damage for Parker there. Bit of damage to the rear right by the looks of things, but hopefully no major damage done.
So it's 5 seconds between David Saber and Grant Riddle, and another 5 seconds between Grant and Austin. The traffic now seems to have hampered a bit Austin.
Yeah, and another bit of traffic going on here. That's Marazzi and Jan Titz. Jan Titz span in the turn, and both Ray and Adam Hackman had to take slightly avoiding action. It looks like Jan Titz and it may have been Filippo Marazzi who span first, and Jan didn't have anywhere to go. It looked very close indeed.
There's right now 22 cars in the field still driving, and only 10 in the lead lap. Adam Hackman is the last one. Whoa! He's now two-wheeling it! Oh my god! How he saved that! What a stunt!
Oh. Very neatly done.
That's one way to get maximum grip from your left side tires.
Or he's trying to save his right side tires.
That's true.
Or be admitted in the Evil Knievel show. The David Saber is really getting now close to Grant Riddle. There's only 3 seconds between them, and he seems to be there on the move, because he did 1:38.9 in this last lap, which I believe is probably so far the quickest lap in the race for anybody. So David Saber is really now hammering it. He probably has smelled the blood in the water, being Grant there in front of him. And Grant's certainly not going very quick now. Probably his tires are very worn out from the fights that he has had. And he's doing a bit irregular laps. Quick but irregular. And that's hurting him. Pretty soon we have David Saber on his tail.
Well, once again, it may be a case of being able to catch him is one thing, but passing him is quite another.
Well, this time the difference in engine is certainly huge between the factory McLaren and the full Porsche.
There's 3 liters difference between the two of them. If
Yeah.
David gets to him, all he has to do is wait for
And
the
a good
long
amount of
straightaway.
points. It's 2 European cars, but very different engines in there. Porsche with this mythical big V12 that won Le Mans, the bodied version of this car. But not a lot you can do against this huge cannon blocks from Detroit. I think it was 7 liters, this McLaren.
Oh no, this McLaren was 8.2 liters.
8.2. Incredible. I need almost a month to drink that much beer.
Give me 10 years and I could probably drink that much.
There was I remember a driver who was driving one of the M8Fs in a vintage race explaining the size of the engine at 8 liters. Each cylinder was basically more displacement than a typical European family car.
But 8.1 liters, I mean, it's incredible. You mean that capacity is sucking air, 8 liters of air, like 7,000 times per minute. So it's incredible. I guess when one of these cars starts up and goes revving near you, you are very much in the risk of being sucked into the admission of it if you are close enough.
Very nearly.
It causes a big vacuum around it.
Indeed, and if they really needed to turn to Earth a little bit quicker, I think they could probably use one of these McLarens. Manage it quite well.
Now David Tessa.
It's right behind Grant. Grant has traffic.
Just 5 seconds in front, and considering the pace that David is showing now, it wouldn't surprise me much with half of the race remaining that Austin has not.
Oh, we have a spinner in front!
David collection. David gets by.
That was lucky. And it was giving Grant a bit of batting room.
I believe he made slight contact with the car. He did make slight contact with Marazzi. But it looks like at least Christian Dauge, who was behind, was able to avoid everything, and so did of course Grant Rideau. That was a very close call for both of them.
Woo! Yes, it was.
But we can see already that David is closing in very quickly and steadily on Grant. As he has a big moment under the bridge.
Well, I don't know what the aerodynamic effect will be on this car, but the nose of that McLaren seems to be more bent than Jack Dempsey's one.
Presumably then he'll have no downforce in the front. Understeers for days.
I think it still has some downforce in the front.
But of course, if Grant is a little bit lucky, David may be lacking a couple of Ks top speed because of that less aerodynamic front end.
That could be.
I think the difference is still pretty big in favor of that McLaren.
Oh, and I believe that's Johan Boos in the barriers.
Look here in the straight, how the distance is quickly reduced. I mean, this McLaren factory is like a bit like a time machine.
Johan keeps going, but with a puncture by the looks of things. And indeed, especially towards the very end of the straight, David closes in a lot.
Yeah, if you're going on board with him, you see that when he comes out of the straight and pushes the accelerator, when he comes out of the corner and pushes the accelerator into the straight, it's as if he was hitting the fast forward button. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, this is a distance hitting machine.
Indeed, but as soon as it's a curved exit, he's having to fight the car quite a bit to keep it on the track by the looks of things.
So now he's Grant again. And I guess it's that he will be trying to stay close and set him up for a pass in the straight, where the McLaren is much quicker. Taking it calmly now. But he lost a bit, right in that curve.
Tries for a good run, but it looks like Grant had a pretty good run.
But look how he's fighting the steering wheel.
I'm here,
In
but
the
the
cars,
next
understeering a lot into that high-speed corner.
Indeed, only understeers here, but it looks the things.
Now is the place where he could try. What?
Oh, bit of a lap traffic, so he didn't dare to go for the inside there.
Bruno did get out of the way though.
Now they're going uphill, but
Now we're set up.
there's
Here's the
several
drag
S's
race.
here that will hamper him. What's this one?
Good God in heaven. That speed difference.
Grant takes the defensive line.
Oh, he was able to hold on. Very nicely done. But only just.
Let's see now in the run upwards to the...
Oh, he parks the bus. Sort of.
Yeah, it's clever of him, because it's a bit like what I explained before with Martin Lacina. Grant knows that he kills enough speed at the apex, he forces the car behind him to kill also speed to avoid ramming him, and then he has the run out of the corner, as the thing here.
Indeed, but that's a double-edged sword, because if he loses enough speed, he'll be hit in the rear.
Yeah, but it's just getting it right.
Yes. And Goliath behind him can also accelerate
Yeah,
out of the corner, but he has to have it set right.
Because otherwise you will see him going by your side. So.
Indeed, it looks like David is looking for a bit of a better run here. We mounted the curb a bit too much though, I think. But that, just in that small shoot we can see the speed difference in a straight line. It's absolutely massive.
He wants to be close now at the exit.
Grant gets a good run though. A bit more squarely from David.
There he comes, but it won't be enough.
No, he squirreled it coming out of the hairpin. Couldn't quite take advantage of the speed.
Now we see it here, how Grant blocks and...
Oh, he runs wide.
He kills the speed, you see. He turns the car there and now he gets the run out, because this small straight is where David can be dangerous for him also.
Oh, and we have a spinner in behind them. Oh, there's contact between the two. Not sure who that was spinning. I believe that was number 34.
Jason whited.
Oh dear. So Jason is in the wars tonight. Oh, Grant a little bit wide to turn 2 this time around. On the grass. Oh, he was held up by Jason Whited.
And unless I'm wrong...
Bruno.
I don't know. Okay.
No, sorry, Bruno, yeah. My apologies.
But
that's also the speed difference here. But Bruno was lapped just a couple of laps ago, and he's already now a further lap behind these guys.
I was just thinking that Bruno had been lapped 3 times in the last lap.
Oh, and here comes David. Gets a fantastic run. Grant trying to hold on around outside though. He has an overlap. If he gets the draft, he could have a bit of a chance down into the right-hander at the end of the straight.
Not a chance.
Not against the McLaren.
One could always hope.
Yes,
the battling is good. Oh, and there's traffic here. That could hold David up a bit. Jan Tits, I believe that light blue car is.
Yes.
As he runs wide.
And look at Grant.
Oh, Grant trying to go through the middle.
That was too optimistic.
Yes, it was.
But it worked, sort of. I believe up here will be the only place Grant will have to retake the position from David. Oh, but David gets a fantastic run.
Yeah.
See, David uses the Grant trick back on Grant. Slow at the apex and then uses the displacement to charge away.
Yeah, he will be leaving the Porsche absolutely dead in the water if he does that. Because the Porsche certainly needs the run the inertia out of the corner to get going.
We can see that
Well, the McLaren can simply rocket out.
indeed, and we can see that in the faster left-hander there that the dirty air is quite heavy from that McLaren as well, causing further issues for Grant and his Porsche. So now the interesting thing will be, will David be able to catch Austin, and what kind of fight will we get there?
They're right now 13 seconds apart. Let's see what happens now that David is in clean air. He's able to put really quick laps, because his best lap so far has been 1:38.6, which is bristling quick. It's really incredible. I mean, not the leader David Jack has done such a lap, not even him, but
we have a bit of a fight back here between Jason White and Timo Vermeersch.
they do indeed.
Not a couple of veterans.
Oh!
So Timo has a bit of a moment, unfortunately. And that's right in front of the lead.
By the mirrors.
Right in front of those two.
Coming.
That's very unfortunate. Hopefully he'll be able to get going once again. And he does, after a couple of tries here. I think he should be able to get going here. He does indeed. That's unfortunate. It looked like he was going to have a good fight there with Jason. And let's see, Grant has actually closed in a little bit on David here. Probably due to traffic though. Oh no! David!
Saber just blew it up!
Oh!
Oh David!
My goodness!
Oh dearie me.
I apologize, I didn't mean to shout. I saw a big black puff of smoke and a lick of flame.
Yep, that's one
I was
well
watching
used.
the replay and he didn't even hit the red line, so it must have been earlier.
Wow.
It
Right.
could have been, if you, as mighty as they are, they're very, very fragile if you keep banging the red line.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling that
So I
And
guess
he's-
this means basically that Austin's going to lead the championship.
If he finishes where he is, definitely so.
Yes.
He should be about 10 points ahead of David. Because Austin, if he finishes second again, will score another 15 and end up on 30.
Mm-hmm.
And David, of course, stays on 10. That's very unfortunate for David, because he was having a good race despite the earlier accident.
Yeah, that was for him a very good chance of scoring points to stay there in the championship lead. Or at least close to it.
But that's again one of those things that can happen when you're racing hard.
Yeah, well, racing is all about stressing the car, so it can happen.
And unfortunately that more or less puts an end to most of the really close fights. Oh, as we have, is that 88? I believe that's Ray Riddle having a spin. Sorry, that's Steve Parker having a spin in turn 2.
Yes, he's on the grass.
Being very careful when getting going once again. Clearly doesn't want to spin up the tires and cause further issues for anyone else. We have, I believe that's Christian Dauger in the pits, either for fuel or for some repairs. We did have a couple of close running cars by the looks of things. We have here between, I believe that's David Junt and Martin Lassina running fairly close to one another.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible to see how much they are locking up the tires going into turn. I believe that's turn 3.
And that's the 20 laps to go.
There are probably several drivers wishing for the race to end by now with the tire wear, which should be quite heavy. Martin cutting it very fine on the back straight. On the crest he was almost touching the grass.
It's incredible what he's doing with such a poor car that has no downforce at all. And he's following David Jan.
Looks like he may be around maybe half a second at most slower, so it's a very, very good drive from Martin. Of course, we have seen him have some very, very good drives. He finished inside the top 5, I believe, a couple of times last year in the kart series, and of course in the F1 78 series, I believe he finished inside the top 5 as well a couple of times.
Yeah, for Martin the problem has usually been that he's not as constant when it comes to finishing, because the speed is obviously there. He's a very quick driver, but he hasn't got better results because of that. He doesn't have that good finish rate. In the Formula 1 19, he started driving the Dallara and had lots of did not finish in the early races. You remember that? He was very quick, incredible with that Dallara, but later had bad luck because of the other situation and couldn't finish the races.
I believe it took him until around round 10 maybe to beat David Junt's finish in the same car in terms of best finish for the Dallara. Because I believe David Junt walked into the Dallara team at Imola, and I believe he finished 3rd or 4th in that race.
Well, he needs to work on that. I, on the other hand, I'm very, very consistent, because at least 80% of the time I don't finish in it. Pretty much a lot.
It's consistency. Oh, Grand Vegas in the grass. What happened? Is he
Oh, and he's out.
He's out.
No.
An accident. Now that promotes Yves Placet to the podium position with the Ferrari.
Oh, he was doing such a good job as well. Oh, it looks like it may be... There were guys fighting ahead of him going into turn 2. And looks like they span in front of him, so he may have had to take evasive action. Number 39, that's Brian Yannick, and the other car would have been Steve Parker. So he may have had to take evasive action in turn 2, and that's why he ended up in the grass and barriers, and that's probably why he's now out of the race. It's very unfortunate, because he was driving so well tonight, to not say brilliantly.
Yeah, he certainly did Austin the fight of the day, of the week, of the month. We'll see.
Possibly of the season.
Definitely.
Possibly of the season, because I believe we'll have to struggle to find a fight going on for that many laps, being that close for such a large part of it.
Well, let's both get together again in the next race, which will be so surprising.
That's of course a possibility.
The next race, by the way, which will be, because we will be having the 3 Can-Am races in a row before the Formula 1 starts. So it's not going to have any race in between, and it's going to be at Road Atlanta, which is a circuit that, to a certain extent, is similar to this one, because it has many elevation changes.
Formula 1 start?
Formula 171 will
Oh.
be starting in next month. Steve Parker will be in. And he's out.
Steve Parker, and Brian, no sorry, that's wrong. Yeah, I believe Steve Parker went off in the hairpin in the quick right-hander, sort of quick right-hander after the first section, and hit the walls and almost ended up in the way of Yves Placet when he bounced off the barriers and back onto the track. That's why I reacted just a moment ago to that. It looks like
I've been watching Martin Lucena, and yes, with the older car, it kind of, without the aero on it that the newer cars have, and then I jinxed him, he just sort of missed a corner there. It kind of fits his driving style. From what I've seen of his driving style, he's pitching it and drifting it, but he's still giving it one heck of a ride.
Yeah, sitting in 5th position, that's very impressive indeed.
Well, before we finish up the official trivia question, I'll throw you guys another tidbit. If you look at the V8s, the Chevys in the race, you notice how the intake stacks are all, well, you've got 2 different heights across the 8 of them. Did you know that it wasn't a style thing? It actually has an engineering purpose.
Would it be to distribute the heat and the well, I'd assume it's mainly because of the heat, but I could very well be wrong.
No, actually, for as antiquated and crude as a lot of people might think these monstrous engines are, the shorter stacks actually are linked to longer intake runners through the intake manifold. So from the time, for all 8 cylinders, from the time the air actually goes in the top of the stack, it travels the exact same distance for each of the 8 cylinders.
So that we'll get an even firing rate in
Exactly,
the engine.
and that leads back to your heat question as well. Or thermisal, that's a word. So everything is working with the same temperature in the charge of air, which of course determines how much fuel the air can carry.
That's very interesting indeed, and David Juntas had a bit of an off here. Hit the curb a little bit wrong and got spat off into the barriers on the outside. Lost a little bit of time in the position to Martin Lucena. But I don't believe you saw those different height of engine stacks in in the USAC series, did we?
Oh, I don't believe so.
No, not in the USAC, because there you have turbocharged engines.
Oh, of course.
So you saw a lot of flambing, but it was destined to have the turbo route around the engine, because the engine is of course hot, and you want the admission of the turbocharger to have the pressure possible. But you will get to see those cars in action again this year. More the 74 ones, but still more than 800 horsepower engines. Blasting down around Indianapolis and Ontario and Pocono.
That would be a fantastic thing to watch, I'm sure.
What is our gap right now between David Yunt and Ray Radal? Are they close at all?
Looks like more or less half a lap. Ray is coming through the last hairpin now.
Okay.
But Ray is now on the gravel.
Oh dear, we jinxed him talking about him. Sorry,
Yes,
Ray.
we did.
Then
That
Adam
loses him a position.
now.
Yeah. And Christian Dauger trying to stay out of the way of Ray there. It'll be interesting to see because previously Adam let Ray by without much of a fight. That happened in the same area where they had to take evasive action.
And with that outing from David John, Martin Lacina is in fifth position, which is amazing considering the car he's driving.
Now Ray also in his car, of course, the two McLarens and the Carl Haas L&M entry of Gerard Rion, they all have 8.2 liter Chevy engine, which was a breakthrough for this season. But Ray Radal driving the David Coffey car, somehow they also landed .2 Chevy engine.
That sounds like a bit of craftsmanship behind the door, behind the closed doors.
Yes,
sort of.
Somebody had a connection somewhere.
One of those, I'll scratch your back and you'll scratch mine.
I believe so.
Or when Adam gets a little bit held up in front there by the looks of things. I believe that's Jason White or possibly Bruno Chacon's car.
It's Bruno Chacon, yeah, with a March 47. The only March model that is in the field. Which is, by the way, a nice car to drive, I must say. One of the cars that had less understeer. It's not a quick car, but it's easier to get it round corners, at least it has my poor driving style.
True.
Very balanced car. Very wide track. That helps it get around. But that hampers it because it has a bigger frontal section, so that's aerodynamic.
Oh, and it's so very wide. It might actually be wider than the McLarens.
It might, yes. And certainly not with such a powerful engine or the downforce that the McLaren had.
Back to the Ray thing, on Ray's car for a second. Now, if you've got to remember, back in through the 60s, the Lola T70s were always big on using Chevrolet engines. So it might have been, if it being a factory Lola team, which I believe it is, it's the latest model of Lola, I think. It might have been fairly easy for Lola to call up to Chevrolet and say,
"Hey, would you supply us with your newest engines for us for this year?"
Do you think we could have one of those?
It's certainly possible.
Oh, Jason White just spun, and I think Timo, got the position for him. Because they're waiting for the error. Jason recovered, is now back on the track. I think no damage at all, but we lost the position to Timo Vermeersch.
Well, they are swapping positions, but maybe not the way they'd like to swap positions, because that, I believe, will be the 4th time they've swapped positions this race. And all of them, I believe, has been due to small mistakes.
So Adam Hackman just spun in the stick. Not sure what happened there. He simply spun there. Oh, and he hit the wall hard. Right, Riddle.
Looks like he's going slow as well.
Yeah. But now, right managed to get by and is in 6th position.
Yeah, it looks like Adam may be going a bit slow here.
Yeah,
at least he was. It definitely looks a little bit twitchy, that car.
Laps down, but Bruno got by. That's got to feel good for him to actually be able to drive around something.
Yeah.
Well, I believe he was off early in the race as well, so you probably haven't had that many opportunities to go by anyone on the track. I believe he was one of the 3 who had a spin at the start of the race, and now he's trying to get out of the way, but a bit of a breakdown in communications there. Because clearly Adam wanted the inside. He wants the inside here. This time he makes his way by.
I will say hats off to Bruno. He might not have the pace, but he is.
Christian!
And
And
Dogger
just
just
spun,
puts it
trying
in
to
the wall.
overtake there.
Oh, that's unfortunate, but it looks like he's still going at least.
It looks like these kind of cars are quite hard. Because many of them are taking a beating and still they are there.
Definitely more durable than you'd expect from what looks like sort of prototype S cars.
I should say that Austin Ogonowski is really on fire, because he has been putting very steady low 139s in the last lap, and he has reduced the gap with leader David Jacks to 11 seconds. So let's see what David's reaction is this, because yeah, there we get it. Last lap he did 138.8. Probably didn't like to see the gap diminishing.
It's one of those, I think he's probably more or less looking after his lead.
Still, it's down to 10 seconds now, the gap.
Wow.
10.7. Though there's only 15 laps to go.
It'll be quite close. If he keeps reeling him in at this rate. But with so few laps left, I think we'll take the time now when there's more or less calm times on the track by the looks of things anyway. To have a look at the trivia question and answer to that one. So let's see.
Winner?
Yeah, yet again the question was, who won the first St-Jovite Can-Am race on September 11th, 1966? Was it A. Mark Donoghue, B. John Surtees, or C. Bruce McLaren? Do you two have any suggestions on who it may have been?
I don't know. Last time it was Donoghue, so why not?
I'm gonna say floorball.
Floorball.
No, actually, I'm gonna say John Surtees.
Well, in that case, with those answers, congratulations, Scott, because it was actually John Surtees who won the first St-Jovite Can-Am race in 1966.
one of my idols, the only guy to ever have won in the top category of motorsport and motorbikes.
Yes.
That's something I didn't know actually. That's very
The only
impressive.
To have done that. He was actually a motorbike racer before he was a car racer.
Yes.
But
And world
many
champion.
people started like that back then because motorbikes were obviously cheaper and easier to access.
And that's the reason I guessed him, because this track would lend itself to MotoGP.
Mhm.
And guys who learned how
Well,
to
I can tell
control.
you that these changes in elevation are really horrible when you're driving motorbikes. In a car they are bad, but in a motorbike they are really scary.
Which makes it very surprising that they race their motorbikes around, for example, Knock Hill.
Laguna Seca.
Uh,
You should see what
they
happens
they
when they
race
arrive to the
they
barbecue.
they race motorbikes around Laguna.
Yeah, I know.
Good
I've seen
God!
it many times, but it's crazy, absolutely. Though they only have two crests, the one on the before the start finish line, and then the one before the corkscrew. And those are very dangerous spots with motorbikes.
And of course, the corkscrew itself can't be easy either.
Yeah, but the corkscrew is no real big problem, because you're already going downhill, and a motorbike is all about that, swapping sides very quickly. So that's not a dangerous position. But when going uphill and on the throttle, as happens in the before the main straight, that's really dangerous with a motorbike. It can get light very quickly and snap on you.
Oh dear. And I just caught, by the way, that St-Jovite had an off in the last turn. Looks like he corrected a slide and ended up in the barriers. Hopefully he's now gotten going once again. Yeah, that's possibly a bit of OS. We have Adrian on the grass as well. That's possibly what I've seen around Isle of Man, the TT there, with all the crests there, with the bikes flying and being all over the place.
Yeah.
And on track.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now go ahead.
Marazzi spins right in front of Rion. They clear each other. One of the cable networks here has early weekend mornings, a series called Railroad Racing. I don't know how new the races are, but I guess timely as far as how they get the.
There's a very famous championship, the Irish Road Racing Championship with motorbikes. That is incredible.
And the ones and I remember just absolutely floored me was the guys racing at Dundrod. And they literally, around Dundrod, you know how in the States you have to have, in Formula One, the track has to be totally clear and, you know, this and that and the other thing for safety. And those guys race around Dundrod and they lead it into a corner and they literally, I watch these guys, they are ducking for low-hanging limbs on the inside of the corner. You can actually pull their head down behind the cowling because the limbs are still hanging out there, and you could literally be clotheslined.
Yeah. It's also one of those I can't remember exactly how it looks, but I'd assume there are sort of stone slash concrete dividers and stuff, yeah. Where if you fly off your bike and you land on one of those, you're probably quite badly hurt.
Yeah, it's so dangerous with everything that is in the normal roads when you're riding motorbike. So it's crazy that, and still today there are motorbike races in open roads. But
there must be a law on the Isle of Man and in Ireland against litigators reliability. Because these guys are absolutely crazy.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, the bikerists will, and the motorbike purists will say, no way, but would you ride in a sidecar on the Isle
am
of
in favor
Man?
of letting people take the decision whether to risk their lives or not.
I agree with that totally.
And of course, in terms of Isle of Man itself, it's an autonomous part of the UK, so
Exactly.
it does put up its own laws and regulations, making for some
It's
rather
very
strange one.
traditional, and people would, I think, they would be yelling if the Isle of Man TT, the tourist trophy, was cancelled, because it's so important in the biking world. It's emblematic. I mean, it's one of those things that if it quits, it's like it would be like the end of an era.
Would be like Le Mans not running.
Yeah, something like that, because to the motorbike is exactly like that.
And that's very much like these cars in their era. There were no rules. You had to have 2 seats, you had to have some kind of a roll bar, and outside of that, the wheels had to be covered, I'm sorry. And outside of that,
Well, it looks like we have another battle on the track, by the way. A few laps down from the leaders, but however, a fight between Juha Bols and Timo Vermeersch.
But Timo just passed Juha, right?
I'm not sure, I just caught up to it.
Timo was in front of him. But
Nick-
Juha's looking at the outside now.
if we had a way to tap into their channel without Juha knowing it, I'm sure Juha's mouth is running faster than his car right now.
Possibly. But of course, in terms of these cars, I'd say Timo's is probably a little bit more difficult to drive.
Yes.
Having no rear wing and
But he's got a lot more measurable power. Not as much here at on the high end on the long straightaway, but
of course that's one of the Porsches, isn't it?
yes, whatever he lacks in wing, he's got in mechanical grip, I assure you.
I do believe
It's
it.
a special variant of the Porsche. The one that Timo is running.
Oh, it is?
I'm not sure it's the Spider, but I'm not sure exactly what the difference is, but it has slightly different physics from the one that, for example, Grant Radar was riding. This is a car that was driven in real life by Neil Minter.
Yes.
Was one of the really tough guys back then.
Wasn't that one of the Kanuna cars?
Sure. Not sure. And we had here a couple of years ago no other than Neil Minter Jr. racing with us, because the son, yeah, he likes a lot. He's in an American league. I think he's still racing there, and he came here to race with us in St. Jovite, and whenever possible, he would of course pick his dad's cars.
Okay.
That's too cool.
Yeah. That
would be awesome if he...
That guy was a character, certainly.
Oh, Juha is giving him the business.
Would be awesome if he came back and jumped into that Porsche.
Yeah.
Oh, and here comes Juha. I think he has the run this time. Or the difference in pace is
Oh, when he went to the outside, no.
it's almost as impressive as the difference was between Grant and David's McLaren. I see we have 7 laps to go. Sorry, 8 laps to go. So a lot more action still to be had here.
I think so. Oh, right here. This is going to be...
Ooh, as Timo runs a little bit wide.
Yes.
And again, Juha has a bit of a thought about going around outside. Decides against it though. Tries for the cutback.
And right now they're both saying, don't screw up, don't screw up.
Oh, and Juha just did. That's unfortunate. It was a good fight while it lasted.
Meanwhile, Austin Ogonoski was just under the 10 seconds mark in difference with David Jacks, but it's again over 10 seconds. So it seems that David doesn't want to lose that difference, and that's what he's keeping it. East Place is cruising in 3rd position, David Hunt in 4th.
I will guarantee you that David Jakes has one eye on the gap.
Yeah. Now they're back again under 9, but...
Yep. He's purely driving to the gap at this point.
Oh no, Timo got hit in the rear!
Martin got into the back of...
Oh dear. That's not good. That's Timo losing 1, maybe 2 positions here. That's unfortunate. I believe that was more down to Martin not reading the how Timo would take the corner, but still that's a big misjudgment from the looks of things.
No, it's 8.5 seconds now between Ogonoski and David Jacks.
Oh, so we may still have a fight here. I'd assume that it's down to Austin being really quick in the first 2 sectors, but then David is a little bit quicker.
7.5 seconds now. It's diminishing very quickly. What's happening here?
Let's see.
Maybe it's because traffic hampered David Jacks.
Possibly. David just went by
the
one
last
of the...
lap by David Jacks has been 140.8, which is quite slow. 2.3 seconds slower than the previous one. I think he's getting up to speed now, but in the meantime, Austin has been able to put himself in 7.4 seconds front. Though it's only 6 laps to the end, so that likely won't be enough.
And I did notice that unfortunately Timo is in the pits for repairs.
Ah, how sad. There's so little of the race left.
Yeah, and I needed fuel.
Oh dear.
Oh.
That's very unfortunate indeed.
This Porsche is a real drunk.
Okay. That's unfortunate, but hopefully you will be out on track very soon, Timo.
Yeah, in about 20 seconds.
So let's see what happens now when David Jacks is the main straight. Now it's 6 seconds, 0.8 between Austin Ogonoski and David Jacks.
This could turn out to be
7 seconds.
Yeah,
the
this
gap
could
is dramatically in the last laps.
This could turn out to be a very, very close finish indeed. Feels like it's all down to how
comfortable one for David Jacks. No, David's again on up to speed because there's no problem in his car. He did a very low 139 in his last lap. But a good part of that gap that he was having for comfort is gone. So obviously a lot of the comfort is also gone.
Indeed, and Austin is driving very, very meticulously at the moment.
Driving well, absolutely. He's just made, I think, his quickest lap so far in the race. 38.3.
I'm not surprised, he's hitting the apexes beautifully on this lap as well.
No, he's hitting the distance now.
He dispenses of the traffic very neatly there.
I've also been noticing that Austin's going much deeper into the corners and is able to trail brake that car, which most would tell you is impossible in a Can-Am car. But he's doing a fantastic job of balancing it on the brakes, throw it into the corner, and he's making great power slides coming out.
Oh, and you can actually see David now, I think. Just up front.
Distance to go still, but...
Oh, and a car is slightly off in front of him here.
Another in front of him.
Oh, and you have... Oh.
He managed to avoid that, to not lose any time. And
Well,
he has David Jack certainly on side.
He may have lost just a little bit
It's
of time.
5.5 seconds, gentlemen, only between both. Now, with 3 laps to go, this is going to be much tighter than David would have lap, like this.
Certainly, and it only takes a small mistake for him to lose the win of this race, which we did see at Long Beach last year in the kart series.
Now, will Martin let him go?
Oh, yeah, more or less.
Going to interfere there.
He just had to take it a bit slower because Christian Daug, I think it was off on the grass on the outside. Oh, and a lot of traffic in front of David Yates here, I believe, if that is David Yates' car.
Let's hamper him because the difference is now under 5 seconds. But this is traffic with Austin will also be meeting very soon.
Indeed.
It all
That's
comes
now
down to where
almost
they
1 lap
get.
less. This is not the best part of the track to meet the traffic here, and the very quick corner that are right after the start-finish line, but let's see what happens. There you see it. Managed to pass very well on Filippo.
Filippo made it very predictable.
My goodness, he's really on fire. He's doing everything he can to catch David and put pressure on. And it's now only 4.6 seconds the difference.
Oh, and also, in the meantime, Sky Willis inside the top. Oh, I just jinxed her. She just crashed.
Oh, how unfortunate.
I'm sorry, Sky. Oh, that was a big off as well by the looks of things.
Now it's up 5 seconds again after David Jacks was able to clear traffic. But David is also really pushing it. Because it must have made it very uneasy to see Austin closing in so quickly.
And Gabriel Sturr is also inside the top 10, which is a fantastic race from him. It'll be interesting to watch this last lap coming up, whether David will be able to keep it on the track and not make a mistake.
Lap isn't good either, I think.
Oh, sorry, there's 3 laps.
He's going to cross the finish line in 2 turns because he had been 140s hampered by traffic. Let's see what happens now. That's now 138.5. Yeah, he's back to quick speed. That should be able to keep well in distance. Because there's only 2 laps remaining.
Well, unless he makes a mistake,
Oh,
it's...
blown engine for Adam Heckman.
Oh no. And Adam was having a good race as well.
Yeah, pity. There were points for him to score.
But that will elevate, I believe, yeah, there is enough laps. Brian Yannick will get inside the top 10, as has Jan Titz just gotten as well.
Yeah.
They are all but within sight of each other.
Well, they are on the back straight.
David Jakes, if he wins this thing, then he will come back and tell us that I just wanted to make it close.
Possibly.
4.8 seconds between both, and he certainly must be seeing Austin in his mirrors.
Certainly, and Austin looks to be doing everything he can now to try and close the gap.
4.3 seconds now.
And Austin trying everything in the hairpin to get the power down early. I think he may have lost time there.
4.2 seconds.
Oh, we still gain with being that loose. Oh
Nice.
no! Oh, we definitely gave it a fair try though. Oh!
He did. That was just absolutely one of the best drives.
No damage?
I don't think so.
Yep. Keep third.
Did look very close though. With one of the lapped cars coming through. But with that, unless there is a mistake done, David Yates will take the win here. In a last minute jump in drive and have done more or less everything right today. I don't think I've seen him off the track at any point during the race. Which is very, very impressive considering everyone else more or less have been in the grass at some point. So comes under the bridge. He has a car in front of him, but I don't think Ray should impact David's race at all here. As David comes through the last turn, and he can now start waving because he finishes the race in first position and takes the win here at St-Jovite, Mont-Tremblant.
Fantastic, a very dominant drive.
Fantastic drive. But let's not forget Austin Oganowski. He gave us one of the fiercest drives we've seen in quite a while here, and a fantastic finish in second still. Even though we would probably have wanted
20 seconds behind,
first.
but that would go down in the books like that, but doesn't represent how interesting the race has been.
Indeed.
Eves puts the Ferrari on the podium.
It looks like it, unless he blows his engine going up the hill here. Well, we did see David Saber blow his engine, so anything is possible.
Yes, it is.
Let's see, going through the hairpin. He just needs to get some speed up, and then he should be able to coast it to the finish line. Through the last corner he goes, and puts the Ferrari on the podium, as you say, Scott, and looks to be pretty happy with that.
David
Let's
Young,
see.
Martin Lucina, will they round out the top five? Yes.
Yeah, looks like it.
Looks safe.
David Young coming towards the hairpin here to finish his race in fourth.
Yep.
Just a bit of a coast left as he gets it all sideways through the last corner. Pretty happy with his fourth position by the looks of things. And let's see, Martin Lucina to finish off as the last runner on the lead lap, I think, which shows how good David Yates' drive was, lapping all but 5 cars, as Martin actually heads towards the pits here.
Actually, I think Martin was a lap down already.
Oh really? Wow. So Martin finishes in 5th position, 6th for Ray Riddell, 7th for Gerard Rion, 8th for Gabriel Sturr, a fantastic drive from him. Big congratulations in his only 2nd drive at HSO. Let's see, 9th for Jan Titz, another good drive from him. And rounding out the top 10 is Brian Yannick, who was in the wars but gets away with a 10th position. I think he'll be fairly happy with that. In 11th we had Jason Whited, 12th for Adam Hackman, 13th for Sky Willis, 14th for Juha Bors, 15th for Jason White, 16th for Timo Vermeersch. Slightly in the wars with a few spins and a bit of help from others to cause some damage, but still 16th position. I hope Timo will be pretty happy with. 17th for Filippo Marazzi, 18th for Christian Dauge, 19th for Bruno Chacon, and I believe he was the last of our finishers. With Grant Riddell in 20th, 21st for Steve Parker, 22nd Davis Saber, 24th Labatt, 25th Enrique, 26th Jukka Matanen, 20th.
Stop there.
Sorry?
You can stop there. Don't go all the way to the bottom.
Okay, sorry. I'll just show it in the overall standings.
It's a pleasure as always to broadcast with you, and see you next time.
Thank you very much for joining me, and hope you enjoyed it as much as me. I believe Scott did, and hope you feel better in a few weeks' time.
Thanks.
Cheers,
Bye.
Alberto.
User disconnected from your channel.
So yeah, what a race that turned out to be,
Attention grade, you're all non-essential.
to say the least.
That was an excellent race. Well, we'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time.
Where is the next race?
I believe it'll be in 2 weeks' time, possibly. I'll have a quick look.
Road Atlanta. Yep, Road Atlanta. I believe 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna miss that one.
That's saddening to hear.
Oh, you can't, Timo. That is the headquarters of Porsche North America, is Atlanta.
User
Yeah.
joined your channel.
I'll be in the mountains. They changed the date of the race, I think, and I'll be in the mountains when you guys are driving for Atlanta.
Ah. That's very unfortunate to hear, but at least you'll be back for Watkins Glen, which is the round following that.
Yep.
So hopefully we'll have a good race there. And we're also joined by our race winner, David Yates. Congratulations, David. Never quite looked in doubt, that one.
Good evening, gentlemen. Well, there was lots of doubt from my seat. It seemed like the whole race somebody was actually closing me down, but just the way it shook out, looked like there were some issues that put them, gapped them a little bit, that they had to work back up and never got there. I know early in the race, Saber put in a push pretty hard when I was trying to find a comfortable rhythm, and I know he was closing the gap. And then after that, Austin was just constantly closing me down to what, less than 5 seconds there at the end.
Yeah, well, it took him a bit of a while to get by Grant Riddell, though. Did you thank Grant in your mind, or were you even aware that they were fighting as hard as they were?
I had no idea what was going on.
Given that they were so far behind them.
Yeah, I had no idea actually what was going on, but I saw it on the ticker there that they were running tight together, and a couple times I think even swapped positions, so I was kind of imagining them. They were fighting each other, and I was like, oh, keep that going, that'd be good.
Yeah, that was one of the most interesting fights I think we'll see the whole season, actually. They were nose to tail for 15, 18 laps, something like that.
And then the other most exciting part of my race, I don't know if you caught it on the broadcast, hopefully not, I shouldn't even be admitting it here, but we made a little on-track adjustment on one of those laps. It was not a driver error, it was intentional, I promise.
No, we didn't catch anything of it.
Took a little bit of the front downforce away and made it a little understeery for the last third of the race there.
Ah, okay. We didn't catch you having a bit of a
User joined your channel.
changing the trajectory of the track here, but we did see several others having small spins and slight body contact and so on. But yeah, Road Atlantics is the next round. Do you have any plans on running there, or?
It depends if they have any. It depends if they have any tire barriers out of place that I can put back in line for them.
Well,
no, seriously, just depends on the field and how things shake up with the one-offs.
Hopefully, we'll.
All you can have is an M6. That's it.
Then I suspect David will say no, thank you, and watch the race instead.
They're beautiful cars. You could have a T70.
If you want a real challenge, take my Porsche.
Timo, you had a hell of a race going too. You were handling that thing great. If U-Haul hadn't bunged it up, that would have been. That was the race we were watching.
I think I had a real shot at keeping Jason behind me at the end. But I had a problem, I had a miscalculation in the fuel, so I knew I was going to have to make a pleasant dash at the end. And then I, for some reason, once the car went below about 70 liters of fuel, it became undrivable. It was like there was kind of an on-off switch on the grip of the tires. Some lap you would have grip, and another lap for some reason in exactly the same turn, exactly the same way, it would just go into a four-wheel drift. And you could keep it, but it was really not confidence inspiring.
That sounds really scary, with it being unpredictable. But yeah, again, congratulations, David, on your win, and we're also joined by David Junt. Good evening, David.
Hello.
I take it you were quite happy with your 4th place? Looking at how you reacted when you crossed the line.
Yes. As my hands were hurting at the end. Well, glad this time I got it home in the top 4 instead of miscommunication and then unluckily losing my front tire. But yeah, this time was a decent race. Wasn't too into the track at first, but well, it worked out. And even though I had that off where I don't know, I lost my concentration somewhere, missed braking point, and just kept going off and damaged the front end, but was still drivable even though it showed like red dots at the front. But managed to get close back to Martin and overtake him in a bit a surprise move when we were lapping cars, but I was just taking the chance and it worked out. So just about as tough as the first overtake into turn 1 or over turn 1 crest, but yeah, it's a great race and great racing with Martin himself too. So I'm really glad I finished 4th and on the lead lap.
Good work, good work. Hats off to the whole top 5. Hats off to anybody who finished.
Certainly, because that was clearly a very difficult race for everyone by the look from what we could see.
There was not one easy lap, that's for sure.
No, there was not.
Well, I want to say thanks for you guys putting the broadcast on. It's certainly appreciated, and thanks to everybody that ran today. It was a tough track, and everybody did their best. So great racing with everybody, and looking forward to the next opportunity. Everybody have a great evening. Thanks.
Yes, after this broadcast, you're now a worldwide celebrity.
Yeah, she isn't. Yeah, after one of the masterclass passes as well in the race between Grant Riddle and Austin Oganowski, which sticks in my mind besides the long battle. Any final thoughts, Scott, on the race itself?
User left your channel.
Absolutely fantastic race. One of these days I'll get the monkey off my back. Hopefully we're through with the this was not my favorite track, and I got tangled up with some of the slower cars, and yeah, I apologize for anybody I rooted. I'm still looking for better things to come. And the racing from everybody else, Austin and Grant, were phenomenal. I never thought I would see anybody do a high-speed outside pass over that hump in turn 1, but Grant did it, and Grant was driving the wheels off of it. Austin's trail braking and power sliding up out of the corners, how he kept the tires under it was fantastic, but he was there at the end of the race, and there was just one little bump caught him out. David, congratulations on a top 5. Timo, you had a great race going with U-Haul. Everybody else had their dices going too, and it's turning out to be another beautiful series.
Well, thank you.
And with those final words, we'll cap off the broadcast. Thank you very much to everyone who ran, and congratulations to the finishers, and also to those two David Yates, of course, for winning the race. And until the 11th of February in 2 weeks' time, it will be good evening and goodbye for now, and hope you have a good time until then, and yeah, enjoy yourselves. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
See you.
User disconnected from your channel.